Got me on my knees, Lila. Darling, won't you ease my worried mind? Layla, I got me on my knees, Layla. This is Zorro, back to the #1 spot, pal, as it should be. Hey, TKD. Excuse me, Peterson. Ivan's back. Uzan back in again. Garrett's here. Dark Slifer. Okay. Shirokage is back. So is Niall. And Logan and Bukaki Tsunami. Kevin and Morgan. And Epic Wolf Bradley and Mackenzie. And Skooknesti. Pizza Man's back in. Kaiba's back in. Just so you guys know what's what the title means today. Well, it's probably pretty self-explanatory. The reason that the video went up on the YouTube channel so late today is Spectrum decided to just have an absolute fucking seizure. And at first, I was just getting a weak signal, then an intermittent signal, and then it just said, you know what, fuck you, and it just went down altogether. So I just got signal back, because today was going to be a gaming stream. I was going to do some more GTA 5. But with any type of an internet issue, it's going to affect a gaming stream more so than just a chat stream. So I thought, maybe we'll back off that a little bit today. Because when you're dealing with Spectrum, it's bad enough. And then there's no telling what the hell Susan might throw at you on top of it. So I did pronounce it right, Skook Nasty? Yeah, that's right. It's got the word nasty in it. So as long as that's there, I'm on board. Well, thanks, Scott. That's nice of you to say. Let's see. Bukaki Tsunami. So many coronavirus tough guys, it's just a pussy flu. Stop worrying. My body would beat the shit out of it. They say with an anime child as a profile, pick and cry when someone doesn't like anime. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, to most of us, it's going to be a flu, or in some cases, even less. Oh, wait. Let's see if this sells. Let me see what this is first. Hello? I can't. That is so bad. I can't even make out what he was saying. He was so hollow and everything. It, it was a fairly recognizable location, so I thought it might not be a scam, and it wasn't. But I couldn't understand what he was saying. Hello, Em. Ever gonna watch Igotas again? I don't know. It'll depend on if I decide I feel like fighting that whole copyright strike thing again that they like to do. um, can you react to Wabbit season again, guys? I don't look for any reaction suggestions only because especially now with being able to do Dragon Ball Super, where with being able to do Dragon Ball Super, we've got such a set lineup that I'm not looking for anything else, and I don't have time in my day to put up more. As a matter of fact, I'm dying to watch some more Devil Artemis, but the whole Dragon Ball Super thing has put it off a little bit. Do you know what happened to Freddie Mercury? Take the last three letters from his first name. Oh, Mackenzie. Lifer says, I got my little cousin into Attack on Titan. Ah, yeah, good show. She told me Reiner was one of her favorites, then found out the truth soon after. Oh, that sucks. When Reiner hooks you in as, going to be one of your favorite characters going forward, and then he pulls that goddamn armored Titan shit on you. Boy, that was such a good series. I can't wait for the next season of that. George Brandon's new series, Blah Blah the Clown. Everything Brandon does is hilarious. I was going to let's talk to you guys a little bit about something I might be bringing to the channel too with comedy. Please do at least a somewhat reaction to Neon Genesis Evangelion. You won't regret it. Chill Times. Again, I'll say it. Where are all these extra series that people want me to react to going to fit in? We do 3 a day at the Goosh. We do whatever I can. We try and do live streams and put at least one video up per day up at the YouTube channel. And any anime that I react to is going to be over at the Goosh, so it'll stay up and not get blocked or copyright struck, and it'll be up to the gang over there to vote in what they want. Spectrum had a fucking stroke. What's next? Is it going to be brain dead? I don't think we'd notice the difference, Mr. X. Spectrum as brain dead. I don't know how we would determine something happened. Let's see. Brian says daylight saving time costs an hour. Reacting just got harder. What did get hard? I hate that spring forward shit. Fall back, you're all into it. You're like, oh yeah, extra hour of sleep. You're like partying, staying up later than you normally would on the night before and everything, and then it comes and bites you right on the ass in the spring. Let's see. Curtis, not too late for you to run for president. You'll beat sleepy Joe Biden for sure, Kiva says. If anybody had wanted to, on a lark, run for president, this would be a cycle to do it. Because it looks like again, you guys know I'm a nerd for statistics and polling and everything. And if the polling is anywhere even near accurate, which it's been close, it's going. Bernie will probably still stay in the race after tomorrow, but there won't be much sense in it. I mean, if you believe polling at all, he is going to get piss pounded in Florida, in Missouri, in Michigan. The only state that looks like it might be competitive is Washington. Other than that, I mean, what the polls are showing right now, it's not just going to be a beating. It's going to be a squash match. Milak says, so I was wrestling the one-headed Hydra in the shower when I got the notification, had to go into overdrive to get here and got carpet burned. Susan, you cruel bitch. we the other Biden Joe needs that extra sleep. That's our, I like that. That should be our thing here. And YouTube wide. You know how for the entire end of his term, it was thanks Obama. It should just be thanks Susan. No matter what goes wrong. You know, if you get a venereal disease, thanks, Susan. If you eat a bad cupcake, thanks, Susan. Dragon Sears, can I run for president in your household? What kind of swing do I need for that? No, yeah, my wife's got that, but we don't have a king. We have a monarch here in my household, and my wife's got that knocked down. Ryan says, hey, Curtis, quick wrestling question. I went to Full Sail in Florida and used to work NXT tapings. Do you keep up with that and thoughts on AEW, if any? I mean, I watch it here and there. I don't really keep up on it. And AEW, I mean, they're doing okay. They got some good athletes, some good workers there and everything. They just don't have, I don't think, the mechanism behind them long term to compete with Vince. Same thing with WCW. Even back then when they had all of that Ted Turner money behind them, they did great for a while, but over the long haul, Vince just ground them down. Oh no, Susan is replacing Obama. Sounds good, Lifer says. Thanks, Obama. Hashtag Tristan Taylor for president. Now we're talking. Can't open the pickle jar? Thanks, Susan. Ivan says. Yeah. And you know what the worst thing about it is? In all fairness, in the interviews I've seen and stuff with Susan Wojcicki, she seems like an all right person. She really does. She is in an almost impossible situation, but even given all that, it still makes it fun to bust her balls. Anime titties for president, yes. Anime titties for emperor or empress, how I don't know. Yeah, let's go empress for all time. There'd be no reason to have another ruler. I'd vote for Alan from The Hangover for president. Can't tell me that wouldn't be a great future nation. Brian says. Now will you be a good Susan or a bad Susan? Egyptian Jesus for president? That's what I was starting to tell you guys. What I was thinking of doing is how I want to get out doing stand-up again. I told you guys that. I've got a lot of material written. I think it'd be fun to record some of the stand-up material in an animated setting. Use some animation software to create a Curtis character, put him on stage, and put it out there that way. I could use, because I can't draw, has to be all done for me. I could use Go Animate, or I guess I could go into that old comedy night game and record it in there. What do you guys think? Police Girl or Akano for president? Yes, either one. But who needs him as president? I just want him to come to my house. Speaking of boobies, George Buster says, have you checked out Interspecies Reviewers? It's quite a show, but probably not for YouTube. Everybody's been telling me about it, George, but no, I haven't watched it yet. At some point, I'm sure I will. I think it'll actually start getting more and more support just from the conversations we have. More and more support at the Goosh. Hold on a second, guys. Okay, I don't know, because again, with having Spectrum issues, I think my chat is hanging up here. Okay, there it goes again. But it seems to be stopping randomly at spots. Curtis Kindirusama. Daily Dose of Blue says communism or fascism. I don't think those are the only two alternatives out there. I'm pretty sure they aren't. Omega Project says, no wrestling company has the ability to compete with WWE long term, especially nowadays. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, pal. Again, that we really saw that in WCW when Ted Turner did throw an ass ton of money behind it. Had some phenomenal workers, great wrestlers, good storylines, and he did. You know, he took ratings away. He beat Vince in the ratings for a while, but Vince just eventually ground him back down. And I don't think AEW has a better chance of taking out Vince than did WCW. Sergeant Renegade says, Spectrum is trash. Absolute booty cheeks. You've probably been asked this question already, but who's your favorite wrestler in WWE? Well, my all-time favorite wrestler is an old school guy from when I was a kid, which was Bruno Sammartino. And of the more current and recent wrestlers, it's Mark Calloway, The Undertaker. I just think he's been brilliant. I like that. You know who I've only seen a few times? I saw him in the Royal Rumble there. I can't think of his name. Really, really big, thick black guy. What's his name? Young guy. Shit, he's the one who went in there, and when he got announced, Brock was standing in the ring going, "That's a big dude," or something like that, right there. What's his name, wrestling fans? I can't. I like it. I've seen him in a couple matches. No, not Mark. Keith Lee. Yes, thank you, Brian. Keith Lee. Thanks, guys. No, Keith Lee. There's just something about him. He's got a good charisma, doesn't he? There's lots of big guys out there, and he's an exceptionally big guy. But he's got a really cool charisma about him. For me anyway, you're kind of, Bill Cosby, Shirakage says, you're kind of just attracted to rooting for him right off the get-go. I'd like to see more of him. How do I feel about Stone Cold Tsunami? Yeah, Stone Cold was great. Brilliant wrestler, brilliant worker. And one of the great gimmicks of all time. I mean, he did all the things the right way, came up the right way. And that Stone Cold gimmick, that was right in the wheelhouse. That was a fantastic wrestler. Coronavirus for president, Scoot Nasty says. Uzan says, YouTube don't know, but when I was a kid in France, wrestling was a very big deal. I have a collection of every wrestler card. Do you? Yeah, wrestling was always big in Europe, as far as I know. Of course, it's huge in Japan, huge in Mexico as well. Dragon Spear, Stone Cold and Triple H was awesome when they partnered and tricked Undertaker. Yeah, those are the good old days. That Attitude Era in WWE was a lot of fun. They did a lot of great shit then. Mackenzie, do you think I should eat a cookie? Thanks, Susan. She'd probably say no, Mackenzie, because she doesn't want you to have fun. She doesn't want you to do anything that'll be enjoyable. Hey, getting back to what I was talking about, I bounce all over the place. How many of you guys remember that? That. How many of you guys remember that comedy night game that we used to play ages ago? Anybody? What do you think about Punk and the way he left the business? I'm not a huge fan of Punk, Lude. I think he's a really good worker in the ring, but as far as a person, he's not my favorite. He's kind of a whiner to me. I not the type of guy that I really get into. Omega says every company that tries ends up dead or is good. Just look at WCW and ECW. Yeah, yeah, I agree, Omega. It's just they're too big, too much. I mean, too much momentum. WWE. I don't know how anybody overtakes them. I didn't know you played it, but it's cool. Oh, you played it too, Gigamac? I'm thinking of, yeah, we used to play it several years ago. We used to have a lot of fun in there. Just going in and screwing around. We could probably do that on a live stream too. Now I didn't think of that. That'd be because we tried to do that on a live stream back before I fixed, got the internet signal picked up, got the better computer with the better graphics card, and that's why I didn't continue with it because the system wouldn't keep up with it. Maybe we could that would be fun. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll stream that. Let's see. Kiva says Randy Savage, Gene Wilder, Freddie Mercury, Prince, and David Bowie died in the same time period. Thanks, Susan. Yeah, Brian, we Spaz Kid actually has around there, but the latest VR system, the standalone one. Name's gone right out of my head. You guys know what I'm talking about. But he has it. Yeah, VR is a blast. I love VR. Yeah, I think he's got it. I think he has it out at school with him. I never typically play it unless he's here. We play it together. But yeah, it's awesome. Oculus Quest, yeah. Yep. Yeah, he's got that. And it's excellent. It's a blast. I almost knocked myself out playing the one game there, the one shooting game. And it sucks you in so much. And I'm hiding behind this little like desk and take my shots, clear the room. Several times I went back through that one. Every time I go to get up, I'm old. I need help. I go to put my hand on the desk. The desk isn't really there. So when you go to put your hand on it, you just kind of face plant. That's fun. The Iron Sheik was great. Yeah, I saw you in a few interviews with him out of character. He's a cool dude and loves the business. Yeah, I've worked on shows. I didn't wrestle him, but I've worked on shows with him. And yes, he is a good dude. Very good dude. Very appreciative man. That's what always stood out to me about Shiki. More than anything else, he's just appreciative of the business, appreciative of having gotten to live his life in America. He'll tell you. I mean, just a good guy. Morgan, I just tried VR for the first time the other night. My husband filmed embarrassing videos, of course. Well, of course. Morgan, that's a gotta do. Especially among spouses. If your spouse is going to do something as potentially embarrassing as play VR, you got to record it. Corona-chan is here. Thanks, Susan, Poppy says. Oh, they've already been exploring all the naughty possibilities of VR, Sergeant Renegade. They explore them a lot. Excuse me, guys. Damn it, Susan, I missed all of that you said about Obama. I heard my name and the stream cut like my penis against the dry calluses on the palm of my hand. Yow, Milog. Holy crap. Michael says, Iran #1. Yeah, Shiki Baby was, he not only, not only a good dude, but a really exceptional wrestler. That can never get lost along the way, too. He was good. He was obviously good in the ring, physically strong, could put together a match, could run a match like a champ. No, he was excellent. Calculus Rift, biggest screen says. Let's see. Wow, they lick things over there. Yeah, Michael. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. When you have a virus like that spreading and they're refusing, they were refusing to close down certain religious buildings or icons or whatever, where everybody goes up and kisses the same inanimate objects. Like, oh yeah, and then wonder why it's spreading like wildfire over there. I mean, it's been a good news, bad news things. Infections are way down in China. Infections have started dropping off in South Korea. So hopefully, it's a case of, as the whole world is becoming more and more aware, maybe we can do a better job of heading it off in non-pharmaceutical fashion, just by obviously the same old stuff, washing your hands over and over and over, being conscious of your proximity to other people when you're speaking and stuff. And here's hoping. People, Big Green, people out here licking things while there's a virus around. Thanks, Susan. Let's see. Lick says apparently a kid in a local special school got coronavirus. Oh boy. Yeah, you just, it's a scary thing. And again, it's tough to even comment on because you don't want to understate it, but I also don't want to jump in there with the media and try and overstate it as much as they have, in the respect that they only want to report on it when it's bad news because that's better for clicks. I mean, for the vast majority of us, if you get it, you're going to get sick for a while and then you'll go about your business. It is serious for certain people. If you're in a high risk category, it's very serious. It's deadly. So it's not something to be laughed off, but it is something that we should be looking at within proper perspective. 85% of cases are going to be mild. There's going to be a lot of people that have the virus and don't even know they have it. Omega says, my girlfriend got me playing VR. She filmed me concussing myself against the wall twice. Yeah. VR has, I'd like to know what the total is in medical costs incurred and furnishing replacement costs incurred from people playing VR. Biggest Screen says, yeah, there's no need to underestimate it, but also don't do the fear mongering the media is doing. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it just, I swear it just seems like it's stating something in a factual nature and exactly explaining exactly what it is just isn't good for clicks and views, so they're not going to. It's just, I've said this several times. You guys have heard me say it. To me, it's like, if on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as viruses, illnesses go, if flu is a 5, coronavirus is a 6, 6.5. Surprise butt sex says people in prison see a lot of my username. And Morgan's talking about when she was playing VR. My family was like, you're barely moving from your spot, and I was like, oh yeah, I don't want to trip over shit and break my neck. Yeah. And that's the problem though, Morgan. When if I start around to playing it, I'm thinking that at first, but then I get into the game and it's like, fuck this, all bets are off, and you start moving all over the place, and yeah, then hospital trips and lacerations and all the, although for me that's just, back in the days of wrestling, that was just a typical weekend night. Kiba says the media mostly just poses fear because it helps the stock market drop, and then they can swoop in and buy, and then when the fear passes, they can sell back at higher cost. Well, they certainly, yeah, I do. I do believe that the way they report news anymore does play into the concept of hurting the market, because whether the mainstream media likes it or not, it's just fact. The way that news is reported by the vast majority of news outlets anymore is much more with an eye towards what will generate clicks. I'm not saying they're lying, but it's presented from a perspective that will generate clicks more than a perspective worrying about telling the entire story. And they've been that way for a while. Excuse me. Milog says, I once played a VR shooting game with this helmet that hung from the ceiling. I kept dodging with my feet, not the stylus. Like I said, I love VR. I know that. Oh, Lex says, I know this because my cousin goes to the same school, and my Karen aunt is convinced he's caught it now because he sneezed once. Oh, yeah, Lex. Well, a lot of people don't even understand the symptoms, because that's a good example, because sneezing is not even symptomatic of coronavirus. It's more flu-like symptoms, which are, again, sneezes are generally obviously more indicative of a potential cold, or just that you needed to sneeze. You might have inhaled a little dust particle or something and you needed to sneeze it out. But yeah, sneezing is not one of the indicators that they talk about for corona. People blaming Trump for the stock market are ridiculous, Tsunami says. I hate the dipshit with a passion, but be serious. Well, you're right. I mean, yeah, obviously it doesn't matter who is president at the point when a potential pandemic is released upon the globe. Blaming that stock market crash on anything but a potential pandemic being released on the globe is ridiculous. Yes, absolutely. My cousin on Rainer a few months ago. Yeah, he'd be a cutie, but he must be destroyed, Lifer says. That was, and just the changing of directions within Attack on Titan was just fantastic. Man, that was just such a good series. Can't even describe it. Mr. X, oh no, I've contracted the circle virus. Lude says, I sneezed 3 times just this morning while rummaging through the attic. Think it's time to say goodbye to the world. Got to cancel all of my fights, too. Idi Amin says, where I'm from, if you go to a country where it has been confirmed to have the virus, when you come back, you have to go into a 2 week self-quarantine, period. If you show symptoms, you stay. Yeah, well, a lot of countries, I mean, that's the towing of the line that a lot of nations are struggling with now. You know, what is appropriate and what is an overreaction. I guess it depends on each individual, each individual nation and each individual's way of doing things. But you hate to have people, like you say, it's intrusive to have your entire life disrupted just because you came from a country that has some of the infection. But then on the other side of the coin, it's like you don't want it spreading in your own nation any more than necessary or than is unavoidable. So it's tough. Omega says, it's like I told people at work, for the majority of people who catch corona won't know the difference between it and a bad flu. Correct. It's made to sound worse than it is by the news. You're absolutely right, Omega. And that's what the health professionals are telling us. It's not necessarily how the news media frames it, but just what Omega said is true. The vast majority who get it will have anything from minor symptoms to no symptoms to flu-like symptoms. That's the vast majority. Now, so far, it's only killing, not that, I shouldn't say only, because to these people it wasn't an only, but the only people that have been in danger of death are those in the high-risk categories where your immune system has been compromised, be it by age or illness. Those are the people that have died. So should we be in total panic mode about it? No. I mean, it is what it is. We know it's going to hit us here in the U.S. I mean, it's going to hit us in bigger numbers before it starts to recede. But just respect it and do the best you can for taking all the precautions you can against it. That's all we can do. But hyping it up more and more and making it sound worse than it is doesn't do any good for anybody except the media outlets that are looking for some more clicks. Let's see. And Dark Sliver says her attitude about Emir right now is basically fuck that bitch. She's a lost cause for Emir. Right, Kiva. You're right. In the end, you can only repeat the same phrase. Stay clean, wash your hands, cover your mouth, and just relax and be aware of its existence. Don't be paranoid because that's just as bad. 100%. I mean, it's here. It's going to continue to spread. And that's another thing people don't talk about. The reason it's spreading so quickly and easily is not because it's a tougher virus than, say, Ebola or SARS. It's actually because the symptoms are so many times so light. Think about it. You can't, when a lot of people get the disease and don't even realize they had it, that's what makes the spread easy. When you got Ebola, your ass knew you were sick. You knew there was a problem. It was easy to track who had it, so you could quarantine it better. You can't quarantine the coronavirus because a lot of people don't even know they have it. So, they're out and about not looking to infect anyone else, but they just don't know. And then there's a lot of people who feel sick but don't know that they've got coronavirus. It is still considered the end of the flu season as well. Could easily be the flu. It could easily be a cold. It could easily be 100 other different viruses. So that's what makes it tough. Hey, Steve. Yeah, Michael. It spreads easily because Trump. If you spend a lot of time on Twitter, yes, that would be the that would be the conclusion they've reached. Let's see. The news is making things so exaggerated with it, Brian says. I'm over here like Waylon Jennings saying, meanwhile, back at the ranch. Yeah. The other Biden says, let me tell you what, Jack, if the stock market crashes in Trump's fault, then my name is O'Biden Bama. Hey, as long as we're talking a little bit of politics, and this is not meant to be inflammatory or anything. I just want to get you guys' opinion. If Bernie gets beat down tomorrow in those primaries as badly as it looks like he might, if he's losing, by 20, 30, 40 points, do you guys think he'll drop out or no? I don't think he will. I'm just curious. Those of you who follow politics, again, this is just a general conversation stream, so I know not everybody's into politics, and that's fine. But those of you that do you think he'll drop out? Or is he going to stay in it to the long haul, till the end, no matter what? He's got the money. He's got the donations, certainly. Oh, he said he would on MSNBC? Did he really, Michael? Yes, you think he will, Morgan? Bernie isn't going to drop running for president as a money farm. There's that point, lifer. Hey, man, everything said before really helped. Talked to my father, and he decided he's coming to the wedding for me. As cheesy as it may sound, you're not in my debt at all. I'm happy for you, Dylan. Congratulations. I'm really glad he came around. That's awesome for you. That's excellent. Edgar says if he gets beat down, have the ambulance ready. And Michael says, yeah, in an interview with Maddow. Now, what do you, probably asking? Well, no, actually, you guys can remember stuff I can't. It's asking a lot to remember. How did he phrase it, Michael? Did he basically say, did he give parameters like if I lose every state or if I lose by X amount of percentage? I'm just curious. Andrew says now he's going for the fourth house. And what Andrew means is after he dropped out of the last race in 2016, he got a nice little beach house. I'm sure one had nothing to do with the other, though. Lix says he's way too trapped in his delusions to drop out. That's kind of where I am too, Lix. And I think at his age, and with as irritable as he is, I think he's more of a I'm going to stay in and try and burn it all down type guy. I hope that's not the case, but I think that's it. Maz says, don't know if he'll drop out, but if he gets shit stomped, then Bernie Bros will have a shit fit. That is true. The shit show in 2016 and now this. I'm going to predict some pissed Bernie supporters. Yes. And the amazing thing, Maz, is if you go online, they're still trying to blame the DNC. They're still trying to say he was set up and they're out to get him. Yes, they were out to get him. But his loss this time, especially if it comes off the way we think it's going to tomorrow, wasn't anything to do with the DNC. It was just that everybody coalesced around one more centrist candidate, and he got his ass kicked. Let's see. Bernie supporters are always pissed, Maz. Yeah, good point, Viper. Omega says, my mom's a nurse, so I probably heard all about it. She says everything we've said here. Yeah, and that's the thing, Omega. It seems like anybody in the medical field will tell you the same things, just like Omega saying with his mom. It is what it is. Here's what you do. It's going to affect the nation, but do your best to try not to spread the disease. That's all we can do. Maz is telling Lifer, sure, as far as them always being pissed, but I'm gonna predict some category 5 shit fits. The big one. That's funny. Hey, I kind of like that, Dylan. Let's band together and start a new religion from the ground. Animeism. Pray to the titties. I could finally get into a religion. Oh, yeah. And instead of stained glass in the windows, we would have the best cleavage shots of like Akano and my girl Saris and Nico Robin. Oh, yeah. Midnight. Oh, yeah, that would work. Yeah. I can't think about that too long, or I'll entirely zone out from any other conversation that we're having. All hail the titties, Shirokage says. Oh, from Macedonia. Good to see you, HW. Very cool. What are we guessing on 8? Final guess, 50 years old, 51 years old? I'm not sure what we're guessing here, guys. So would a gas mask be overkill? A little bit, Gamma. A little bit. Omega Project. What classifies as a category 5 shit fit? Oh, I think watch Twitter if he does take a pounding tomorrow. I think he's right, Omega. I think that'll be the perfect definition of it. He said, okay, Tsunami says He said he would back out if Biden has the lead going into a convention. Gotcha. Well, it's a while before we have to worry about getting to the convention. Oh, my age? And you guys guessed 50 and 51? You guys are welcome here anytime you want for as long as you... Anybody that's guessing 50 and 51 is my friend. I'm 58. Don't even like talking about it. I gotta go. I got baseball practice tonight too. It's terrible now. I have to gauge how often I can throw and how often I can take heavy swings of the bat, just because my body's gotten so old now. You know, you can't repeatedly keep using the muscles and the tendons the way you did when you were young. So now I have to count my days in between. It sucks. 69. Shut up. Dab and Dab says you're 47. Dab and Dab is winning. I like that, Big Green. I wish I was still in my 40s. Mackenzie says 104. Let's see. I can't. What is that? I can't block Mackenzie, but what is it I can do? I can hide you. Maya says, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if a fair bit of Bernie bros completely abandoned the Dems as a whole. Oh, I think they will, because they think the Dems fucked over Bernie, either not voting or switching to Trump. Yeah, I agree, Maz. I think that's going to happen. I don't think they'll switch to Trump, but yeah, I think you're right. I think a ton of them stay home. I absolutely think so. Mentally, year 12, they'll think that much is obvious. At least sense of humor-wise, absolutely. Without a question, Lude. You don't look a day over 29. Oh, Morgan. Oh, you're the best, Morgan. He's mentally 12. Em says that's generous. No, I think 12 about covers my sense of humor. I think that's the last. Yeah, no, I'll go with 12. I think that's fair. Lick says, it's okay, Curtis, 58 is the new 23. I wish we'd gotten to that point, Licks. Peter says, Curtis is pretty old. There he was, back to back with Jesus. Yeah. Oh, yeah, if I'd lived in times of Jesus, I would have been mentioned in the Bible and stuff. Certainly. I'm sure I would have been sent down below as well, because I don't think Jesus likes hecklers. So, yeah. Curtis is like a fine wine. Yeah, well, good way to look at it, Brian. You guys are all right. You're good for my ego. Really, Michael? I did not know this. Michael said there were polls in 2017 that said a good number of Bernie voters switched to Trump. If that's the case, Uncle Joe's in trouble, because I believe that's going to be a really tight election anyway. And if you have Bernie bros that are willing to not only sit out, but actually willing to switch to Donald, ooh, that would be huge. I see. I didn't see that coming, but if that were the case, it's going to be tough for Joe to win. Dom says, Curtis, you're 12 in disguise, and not even a particularly good disguise, because again, as soon as you get a load of my sense of humor, it's like, oh, okay, he's 12. I mean, just the same stupid things, bodily function, fart sounds, burp sounds, the same stupid shit that made you laugh at 12 still makes me laugh today just as hard. I see Bernie Bros saying they'd vote for Trump on Twitter constantly. Really, Tsunami? See, I haven't been seeing that. I'm not doubting you guys. It's entirely possible. I just didn't think they'd go that far. Oof. Again, if that's any significant number, I don't see how Biden would win. And they're going to be pissed off. Because regardless of whether they actually did get screwed by the DNC, they know the DNC wanted to screw Bernie. That much is evident, true, and understandable. So if they're thinking of, again, not just staying home, but voting for Trump, whoa, that could be big. Omega says, okay, flattery is one thing, but there's no need to start kissing Curtis's butt. No, it's okay, Omega, they can. Pinnacle of comedy is body functions, baby. I'm with you, Sergeant Renegade. Yeah, some stuff is always funny. Just, it is, and that's all there is to it. Anytime the number 69 comes up, that's funny. Doesn't matter how inappropriate a moment it may be. Morgan says it's so kissable. Curtis says, kiss my ass club. Oh, I forgot about that, Brian. What was that? That was Vince's thing, right? I'd forgotten about that. That was actually a pretty funny gimmick. Wasn't he putting people in the kiss his ass club, making them kiss his ass? That was actually a pretty funny gimmick there. Mr. X says two old men fighting for a position of power. Sounds like an old gay couple. um, uh, Tsunami says the DNC should have went with the commie. It's their funeral. He had the best chance. I don't think he did though, Tsunami. I really don't. And I think what agree to disagree. Omega says. um, and I just think that's kind of being borne out by the fact that look at the beating that Biden is putting on Bernie in these states, now that the Democrats coalesced around one candidate. And the reason I say that's kind of a big deal is I don't think a lot of these states are even going to be close. It's going to be more like South Carolina, especially going forward. And if he's getting beat down that hard, it's hard to believe he had the pop to take out Trump, and certainly hard to believe that he had a better chance than did Biden, who the Democrats are voting for in huge numbers. Vince was wearing thongs too, well orchestrated. That's right, Edgar. I'd forgotten about that. Those were funny. That was a funny run there. Yeah, you're right, Morgan. Mike Guy's slogan would be "Make America Youthful Again." Mike Guy is such a great character. God damn, he was. And I had never even thought of it till you guys brought it up to me. But how much does it suck that everybody else gets patched up, put together? Naruto gets his arm ripped off. Hey, here's another one. We'll take care of that for you. And Mike Guy has to stay in the wheelchair. That'd be bullshit. And I hadn't even thought about that on my own till you guys brought it up. And now it actually bothers me. I think about it. It's like, what the fuck? Let's get our boy Mike Guy up and running again. You put a new arm on a dude. Come on. Skook Nasty says we need younger candidates, to be honest. All the nominees are way too fucking old. What do we have to do to get younger people in office? I don't know. My friend. But that's, as far as the Democrat side, there were only two candidates, because, again, you guys know that I'm planning on voting for Trump. You guys also know that I consider myself an independent. There were two candidates I would have considered in the Democratic field. I'm not saying I would have, but I definitely would have considered voting for. And it would have been Amy Klobuchar, although it's tough to nominate her because she's just not likable, and Pete Buttigieg. And there is your younger candidate. I think Pete Buttigieg is wildly intelligent. To me, he's likable. A lot of people find him arrogant. I didn't at all. I just thought he was very smart, but I didn't think he was arrogant. And even though we don't align on a lot of issues right down the line, if he was the nominee where you're not fighting the other Democrats, I think you get a better feel for exactly where somebody stands. So I would have definitely taken a look at him before I decided who to vote for. So, yeah, I don't know. That, as far as what do we have to do to get young people in there, that's a good question for the Democrats, because they just never really, they never really rallied around Pete. I know he's got an issue with people of color. It's going to be interesting to see if he can bridge that gap, because if he does, he's got a big future. Sergeant Renegade says the writers like treating Mike Guy like Gohan, backside dumpster food jutsu. Oh, man. Booty judge, aren't they funny guys? Lick says. I honestly have no clue what you see in Butt Chugby. I just like him. I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's up front. It's similar. I've said the same thing. I see him very similar to Obama, in that he's somebody who I like. I like his character. I think he's genuine in his beliefs. I don't think he carries certain beliefs to just appeal to a certain small Twitter mob sector of the electorate. And I just like hearing what he has to say. Plus, he's one of the ones that understands the poor math involved in Medicare for All. And that's a big deal to me, because I think it is horrifically bad math to think that we can do that and not get taxed at such a rate it'll be difficult to feed our families. Listen, when I tell you guys that I'm anti-Sanders and anti all those programs, if people want to write it off as it's just another crazy old white guy stuck in his ways, that's fine. But the actual fact is I'm against it, not for myself. Again, I'm 58. Changes that are going to happen are not going to be overnight, and they're really not going to affect much of my life. The reason I'm against it is because I don't think it works out well for all of you guys who are younger. I think it's going to make things much more difficult for you down the line. It's certainly going to make being exceptional or getting ahead, solidly ahead in this economy, much more difficult. It's because I have children and grandchildren that I am as dead set against the Bernie Sanders plans that I am, not for myself. Saj, Rick says, Saj, go to your room. Timeout corner. I didn't even see what he said. I like that though. Take a break, bud. Steve says, you live into your hundreds. Well, my big thing, Steve, is as long I don't outlive my kids. So they got to live long, happy lives if I'm going to live into my hundreds, because that I just can't think of anything worse than that. Having to bury my children. So yeah. Maya says, all right, I can see that, but honestly, I think people see Pete in a positive light only because the vast majority of Dem candidates are either full-blown commies or corrupt elitist cunts. I can't disagree with you there. I mean, everything is graded on a curve in life. And yes, when you're comparing Pete to a lot of what was said and done in those debates, yeah, you have a point. Yes, that makes him look better. But again, he's just a young guy that I think has a lot going for him. But I would need to see more specifically where he stands on certain issues. Let's say Second Amendment. If I get the impression that he really is genuinely about making some refinements to the laws and making some changes that do make sense and not just utilizing them as a stepping stone towards trying to get people's guns, I can support that. Again, I already support his take on health insurance, so he's got a lot of things going for him for me. And you guys have to understand, even though I'm voting for Trump, I, like most other people, can't stand the way he conducts himself. You know, with the boorish behavior and the ego run amok. So even when he aligns more closely with what I like, he's leaving himself vulnerable because of that. This is like when they're about to tell you to never forget and then they die. Chitty says. Let's see. Cuba says, hey, Curtis, firstly, I'm getting Sasuke's curse mark as a tattoo. That's cool. Secondly, I think if Sasuke gets a second chance at being badass with all his limbs, then so does my guy. Right. That's what I'm saying. How come? And again, in fairness, I never even put that together until you guys pointed it out to me, but it's like, shit. My guy got fucked. He just did. Tsunami says Biden gets thrashed in debates worse than Bernie. All Trump has to do is attack Biden's voting record and call him a retard for his dementia. You're not wrong about his inability in a debate. I'll tell you though, I don't think Bernie would have done well in the debates either for a different reason, because I think Bernie would routinely lose his temper in a debate, and you can't do that. You can't do that and come out looking good. And I think Trump would know how, whether it's by intention or by folly, would know how to poke him in just the right manner. So Biden, it's because he doesn't speak well off the cuff, and yeah, he's got that confusion factor in there. But with Bernie, I think it's because he would lose his cool routinely throughout a debate. Speaking of politics, I hate Mike Bloomberg. Yeah, boy, this guy, that jump in line. I'm a not in the city, but a New Yorker as far as a resident of the state. And I spend a lot of time in New York and was spending a significant amount of time in New York when Bloomberg was mayor. And yeah, I'm not a fan at all. I think he's as phony comes right there. And M makes a good point. Does anybody actually like Bloomberg? Yeah. I think it's one thing, M, that a vast majority of people on both sides of the aisle can come together on, is that Mike Bloomberg is kind of a dick. It's kind of like saying Rand Paul's an asshole. People from both sides of the aisle are willing to jump on that bandwagon. Brian says Ghost Napa is more real than Bernie's chances at this point. Well, let me hold on, guys. I'll be right back to chat. Let me open a different page because I haven't checked recently. Let me see. I know they had to. I'll read you guys off some of the polls. And yes, we do know that polls can have a significant I'm going to read off polls. There's a few of them here from pollsters, because I do follow this closely, that I think are reputable as well. In Michigan, Monmouth has Biden up by 15 points. Detroit Free Press has Biden up by 24 points. Mitchell Research, I don't know, but they have Biden up by 21. Target Insight in Michigan has Biden by 41. In Missouri, Data for Progress, which actually Data for Progress had been leaning, when they've been off, it's been more pro-Bernie. Like when he lost South Carolina by 29, Data for Progress had him losing it by 9. So they've gone a little bit his way, and yet in Missouri, Data for Progress has Biden up by 30, and in Mississippi, Data for Progress has Biden up by 55. Jesus. Arizona, Ohio, Predictive Insights, I think in Arizona has Biden up by 28. I think they called those numbers a while ago, though. Yeah, and I know that in Florida, Biden had been running anywhere from 40 to 50 points up. So if they're even in the ballpark, it's going to be a really bad day for Bernie. Michael says, according to a new study by the Economic Policy Institute, Medicare for All would actually lead to a net increase in wages, jobs, and job quality. There's been a couple of studies that saw that, Michael. And when you start breaking them down, it doesn't really come out that way. And I could go over it with you piece by piece. But if you take any of those studies, even the one, oh God, I wish I could remember the company that did the initial one. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember who it was. But if you read counter studies, they're out there. And the problem is, when they come up with these, you have to, as in anything else, you have to look at someone's leanings or what benefits someone whenever they post anything of a study. Take all of that out, and just using simple common sense of how much these programs are going to cost across the board, taking an across the board average of what has been said these programs are going to cost. What these studies like EPI do is they make all these great leaps of faith that this much more money is going to be infused from here and that much more money is going to be infused from here. They factor in things like reining in the drug companies, which should be separate from any plan anyway, because reining in the drug companies will make any system work better, even the current one. There's no way. If this is going to lead to a net increase, then as Bernie likes to point out and his supporters like to point out that the rest of the world does it, why does the rest of the world pay 20 to 25% more in taxes than do we, if by going to Medicare for All it comes out with us ahead? I would like to understand that first. Your numbers, as far as I'm concerned, anybody who comes up with numbers that says Medicare for All comes out as a net gain is full of shit. That's my opinion on it. Mayor Pete doesn't seem to be a fan of gun rights, Maz says. Some of the people I respect when it comes to guns are saying he supported shit like Bloomberg Mayors Against Guns shit. Yeah, Mayor Pete, that's what I mean with Maz. For me, with Mayor Pete, I'd have to know a lot more about his 2A stance. And again, if we're talking just studies, what about the independent study that came out recently that went through, and they, as near as anyone can tell, they have no political leaning, went through and determined that all of Bernie's programs together would cost $60 trillion over 10 years. I don't know where that anybody's going to configure the math to where we get that money back, but it's just not going to happen. Denmark's a good example. They like to bring up Denmark a lot when they talk about these types of programs, so I looked into it myself. In Denmark, if you're a married, in Denmark, if you're a married couple in America and you make $70,000 a year, you get the married filing joint designation on your income taxes, your tax rate is 12%. A married couple in Denmark, their tax rate is 45%, making $70,000. That's 33% more. That comes out to about $1,600 a month. So you're telling me that for $1,600 a month within our current system, you couldn't buy your own decent health care, and not only that, have plenty of money left over to pay for some college. And the whole thing about making college tuition free is bullshit to me, because a big number of people don't want to go to college. They want to do trade school, don't want to do college at all, whatever the case may be. I don't like the idea of adding taxes that force these people to pay for other people's schooling. So Denmark sounds like a wolf den with a mark on it. Tom says, I know nothing about American politics. Just want to say hi. Oh, hi, Tom. Oh, and you can talk about anything you want. Thank you for stopping in. But politics comes up in these streams. We talk about whatever we want. Just happens to be politics right now. Excuse me. But all of these nations that we get compared to when people talk about wanting their Medicare for all, wanting their free college, it just seems to conveniently get left out, the difference in the tax rate. You could be taxing people to the point of where they aren't going to be able to eat. And then the whole thing is, oh no, we're going to get it from the rich. Well, no, you're not. That math doesn't work out either. And I simply do not support overtaxing anybody just because they had the audacity to go out there and be successful. I am all about making healthcare affordable for all, but that's an entirely different thing, because when you talk about when you talk about healthcare being affordable for all, that allows you to leave alone the private sector that we have now, that 150 million people have, and a majority of them like their private healthcare, and allows you to concentrate on taking care of those who are actually trying to get ahead, who are working jobs, trying to do the things they need to do to provide for themselves and their family, and get affordable healthcare to them. But burning the whole system down and starting over, it's never a good idea to me to give more of your money to the government and allow them to redistribute it for you. I'm not dumb enough that I think I can't handle my money better than the government can. Yeah, let's talk about titties for Tom's sake. We can talk about titties at any moment for any sake, Sergeant. Yeah, but what about tax refunds? I'm not sure what you're saying, Lauren. I'm not sure what you're saying about tax refunds. Tax refunds don't really enter into it. We're talking about the tax rate. As a matter of fact, a lot of people here in America end up paying substantially less than that, because the way the system works, if you have enough individual items that you can write off, the different child care things and things of that nature, you can be substantially under 12%. I do like my tax refunds, M says. Bernie Sanders just dropped the soap. TKD says. Kiva says, we sat back and laughed, but now we regret it, because Kabuto's Ninja info cards would help us out a lot nowadays, wouldn't they? Let's see. Why can't we use the 1.3 trillion that Trump put into his American Space Ranger program for healthcare? How do we have money for wars but not for free healthcare? Couple things about that, Luke. One, that's a misnomer. The space program was not Trump's. That actually started back in one of the Bush administrations. Now, granted, they're enacting it now. I'm not one to question that too much, because I don't have all the information. Some people out there in the Twitter sphere believe they do. My fear is that others are already trying to leverage it, other nations, so I don't know. So there may be a need for it. How do we have money for wars but not for free healthcare? Well, now, see, you just said that word. Healthcare isn't free. It's never going to be free. Somebody's got to pay for it. You have to have money for wars, because if you can't defend yourself, what the fuck difference does healthcare make? If you think for a moment that in this current state of the world, that if America was to significantly drop off in their abilities as a fighting nation, if you think that we wouldn't be under the thumb of Russia, China, Iran, and several others, you're crazy. Whether we like it or not, we've positioned ourselves in a place where we have to maintain that military superiority, or some really bad things could happen. It's not much different than the Cold War, the mutually assured destruction. If we show any type of military weakness, it ain't going to make a rat's ass bit of difference what you have or don't have for healthcare, as far as I'm concerned. Because war makes money. Nothing more American than selling things that blow shit up real good. Now, I'll be the first to admit we've gotten involved in wars that we shouldn't have, and I'm with you on that. I completely agree with you on that. But to say that we can just cut military spending and put it elsewhere, I think is short-sighted and a recipe for disaster. Um, Joshua says, I'm going to graduate out of ninja school in 2 years from the Hidden Leaf Village. Just remember to not vote for Donzo or else he'll take my eyes. I like that. um, Bukaki Tsunami says, my mom is from Iceland and I got citizenship by descent. There's free healthcare over here and I love it, but there are only about 350,000 people here. Yeah. Well, that's another thing too, Bukaki. People don't tend to take into account in these types of things, especially in like Nordic countries and stuff like that. The numbers are so stunningly different that they mean nothing. I mean, it's not even apples to oranges. It's apples to the train outside. There's nothing alike. There's no comparison to be made. You're 100% right. Oh no, that's true. What Maz says also, that wasn't a joke, by the way. The Finnish army, for example, has bought a fair bit of equipment from America, so the military industry actually makes America a fair bit of cash. No, you're correct. You're absolutely right. We sell military items to allies throughout the world. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But the big thing is, the military spending now that we require is not as much bodies, is not in as much the human element as it is staying ahead technologically. That's what's critical in today's world. Luke says, I'm not saying we shouldn't have a large military, but I just don't understand why we need airspace force. I highly doubt ISIS is going to reform on the moon. I don't know why we need an airspace force either. I do know that, again, it was talked about first under Bush administration. I do know the Obama administration was not against it. It was just a matter of finding the funding for it. But am I willing to sit here and say we don't need it? No, because I don't know. I mean, there's no more I can say to it than that. People can complain about the tax dollars going to it, and maybe it is superfluous. But I don't know, and I'm sure you don't know either. But if we have reasonable intelligence that says we may need a space force to remain safe at some point, then I want them to spend the money on it. Apples to onions. Yeah, good one, Biggest Greenest. No, I don't know. But again, I don't think any of us know if we need it or not. I am all for the government not having to tell us everything. I know that sounds bad in a way, but if there is a clear and present danger of nations that do not have our best interests at heart taking to space, then yes, I want to be able to counter that. Brian says, gonna go to war with this idiot outside revving his Honda. He will need health care. Oh, that's the worst. I used to, many years ago when I lived in the Southwest, I had neighbors who were all about that, revving the car engines. Yeah, it got bad a couple times. At what point do you get in life, or how do you get to a point in life where revving your car engine with a weak or non-existent muffler makes your penis feel larger? I just don't get that. Luke says, all I know is if aliens invade, I'm blaming space nukes. Well, that would suck. Yeah, that part would suck too. I didn't even think of it from that perspective, Luke. If we start our maybe we're being monitored right now, and then we start our space program and the aliens go, okay, now they've gone too far. And it's like, okay, now none of us have to worry about healthcare or anything. Because we're all either dead or we are slaves to our alien overlords. It obviously defines cool. Yeah, I've never gotten that one, Brian. I'm with you. I've never gotten why that's a penis pleaser to so many people, having a loud, obnoxious exhaust. We went from anime titties to penis enlargement. Actually, Shirokage, that's not as big a jump as you're making it out to be. If you think about it. If the aliens invade, we'll just use the space nukes on them. The fuck's the problem, Ma says. Adam says. It's hard to look into Curtis's eyes and say no homo. You guys are funny. You need a good motor and a good exhaust for, i.e., not Honda's kick 'em access. Yo, we talking alien slavery. Yeah, that might. Who knows? Like you say, the Space Force might be what pushed them over the edge. Han Solo and company might be on their way here as soon as we start doing that shit. You guys are funny. Brian says LMAO. I was going to say same, Curtis. Not that much of a stretch. Get it? Stretch. You guys are funny. All right, guys. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to pack it up. I did get thrown a little bit behind today by Spectrum deciding not to give me any bandwidth for a while there. Fuck you, Spectrum. But we made it through the stream. It sucks. It ended up I could have done a gaming stream, but I didn't want to chance it because you guys know if you lose any bandwidth at all, gaming streams go to shit. And I didn't want to put up another gaming video where everything was out of sync and everything. Omega says, here's the thing, we don't need an airspace defense force. The idea is to get it first because it's easier than playing catch up to someone else. That could be too. But see, I never put it, especially with the renewed interest and finances that China and Russia are putting into their military. I never put it past the realm of possibility that they're looking at that as an option. Now, again, I don't know that to be the case. But when people ask why do we need a space force, that's the only thing I can think of. But yes, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me in this stream. I just had such a good time with you guys in here. I get so many great laughs, but now I still got some editing to do, and I'm going to go play baseball tonight. Going to do some more practicing. I'll have to try and get some video clips. If not tonight, it's hard in the indoor thing. As soon as we get outside, anyway, get you some clips. And maybe I can get Spaz Kid, depending on his schedule, or my wife to come to one of the games and record a big hunk of the games, and I'll post it. But guys, thank you for hanging out with me. I'm not sure what tomorrow's stream will be. Maybe we'll try and do some gaming tomorrow. Yeah, let me see how things work out. And let's see if Spectrum decides to let us have internet. And if Susan decides, not to be a bitch. There's so many variables involved. I ended up, Dandy asked, I did end up joining the Pirates. We're coming back. Coming back from the cellar, rising through the ranks. All the way up to the Space Force. Or something like that. I'll talk to you guys later.